Okay, this next example, we notice we have fractions, so I'm going to use fraction busters again. So I'm going to multiply by the least common denominator. Well, since I only have one denominator there, then I know my least common denominator is going to be 11. So I'm multiplying everything by 11, one term at a time. So here the 11s cancel, leaves a 1, because 11 goes into 11 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. So the first term is going to be 3a. Here there's nothing to cancel, so I just multiply. 11 times 1 is 11, so it's negative 11. Here, the next term, 11 goes into 11 one time, times 7, so we have 7a. And here there's nothing to cancel because it's a 9 over 1, so 11 times 9 is 99. So now it's just easier because I have no fractions. So the next thing I'm going to do is need to get the variable on one side because I need the variable by itself. It doesn't matter if you choose to subtract 3a so that your a's are positive, that's fine. So I'm going to subtract 3a from both sides because that means those are going to cancel. And then what I usually will do, instead of doing a whole other line of my work, I'll just come over here then and say, well, if I have the a's on this side, I'm going to have to get rid of this 99. So I subtract 99 on each side to cancel those. So then I'm left with 4a on the right side, and this side I have negative 110. So then my next step is to divide by 4 on each side. And over here, I'm just going to reduce the fraction. So 4 doesn't go into 110 evenly, but 2 does. 2 goes into 110 55 times, and 2 goes into 4 2 times. I'm going to leave my answer like that. Again, if you choose to, you can change it to a decimal, that's fine, but you can also leave it as an improper fraction. Okay, this example is a little different because it looks like a proportion. And if you remember from solving proportions, we're going to do cross products. So I'm going to multiply 2 times the quantity x minus 1 equals 3 times the quantity x plus 4. Really, this is like fraction busters. It's just a simplification of using fraction busters. So that's the best method really to use here. Then I'm going to distribute. So we have 2x minus 2 equals 3x plus 12. And then I'm going to get the x on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 2x on each side. So that means I'm going to subtract 12 on each side. So I have negative 14 equals x. And I'm done. And if you prefer to write x equals negative 14, that's okay. So you can switch it around. Okay, the next problem. This is just like those other problems you did, solving an equation, except that we have a lot of variables. Actually, we have 3, because keep in mind that pi is not a variable. V is a variable, R is a variable, H is a variable, but remember that pi is a number. So we are going to start by thinking about the fact that we need to get h by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with this 1/3, kind of like fraction busters. So I'm going to multiply each side by 3. So I have 3v equals pi r squared h. Okay, so that was my first step. Now I want to get h by itself. H is being multiplied by pi r squared. So I need to undo that by dividing by pi r squared. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. These cancel, so I get h equals 3v over pi r squared. That's my answer, because I was asked to get h by itself. So these problems are just a little more complicated, but keep in mind what you're trying to do is you're trying to think about what you're asked to solve for. That's the variable you need to get by itself. I'm going to make up one more of these to do. Let's take ax plus by equals c and solve for y. This actually is a pretty important one that we're going to see because this is the standard equation for a line. So we're going to solve for y, which means I need to get y by itself. So let's think about what we need to get rid of. The first thing I need to do is get rid of this ax. So I'm going to subtract ax from both sides. So I'm going to have by equals, I'm going to put the negative ax, well, we'll do that. We'll deal with that later. Let me just write it this way, c minus ax. So I can't combine those because they're not like terms. So when I subtract ax, I just have to write it like that. Now I have to undo, I'm trying to get y by itself, so I have to undo multiplying by b, so I divide by b. And I get y equals c minus ax divided by b. And that's okay for right now, we can leave it like that. It's solved for y. So that's how you solve equations. You will have a homework assignment that's listed on the web page, so you can work on that. There are also some problems where you have to, I believe there are some problems where you have to write out expressions, algebraic expressions given the verbal sentence. You might need to look at some of the examples in your textbook in section 1-3 in order to do that. So you might need to look at some of those before you do the equation solving.